So, hey guys, welcome to the Moe and O photo show. I'm Omar Gonzalez.
And I am Mo Morales.
And what we're actually trying something new. We are separate.
But together.
Because I might have Delta.
Oh.
No, I might not have Delta, but I was flying, so we didn't want to get together in case someone from the plane. Oh my God, I can't believe you completely throw out all your worries. You're on this plane with this little paper thin mask, and it's like...
No, I didn't throw out all my worries. I don't know what you were talking about. I was paranoid as crap. I mean, but then back then in January, it was more deep fear, and obviously for good reason, because I came back with COVID.
You did. You totally got it after that trip. We wore our masks, and there's a whole... It's kind of weird. I went to Puerto Rico, and they're a little bit more conservative there. Everyone wears masks definitely indoors, and you're supposed to wear a mask everywhere you go, as opposed to the U.S. Those of you listening outside of the U.S., we don't know how it is. Australia is like completely on super lockdown, but here in the U.S. it's like free. Look at the baseball games.
You know what it is? The world was looking. The United States was looking for freedom. From the day it was born to the point where it's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Just to prove that we're a free country. It always happens, man, for everything.
Exactly. Don't breathe that. That's poisonous. Oh, you don't tell me to breathe then. You can't tell.
So as I was saying, we haven't done this in a while, so I forgot how to talk. But we sort of partnered up a little bit with Riverside. Riverside is kind of a...
Big deal.
In the video podcast world, this is as convenient as it gets. You send someone a link. I just sent Mo a link. He opened up the link.
That's me, guys.
Yeah, and how hard was it on your end?
I clicked the link and it took me in, and then it asked me questions that helped me set up. Like, are you using headphones? Stuff like that. It was really...
Did you shower today? Are you
don't get personal.
Wearing deodorant?
Don't get personal.
So Riverside was kind enough to just let us. They're not paying us or anything, but they're letting us play for free with the software. And really, it's really reasonable if you have a podcast or an interview show, because it's only for a whole year for It's $180 for the whole year, and you get 5 hours of recording. That's the standard. And they have plans that are more basic if you only shoot.
How much a year?
$180
for 5 hours
for 5 hours a month. So if you 5 hours a month,
so that's that was like if we were on schedule and did a podcast a week, we would still have an hour left over.
Exactly.
Actually, we probably have like 4 hours left over, but
it does everything. It backs up our separate audio tracks, and it backs up our separate video tracks, and that's something we were doing kind of like by pressing record on our camera. And by it just kind of simplifies everything. So I'm excited to use Riverside. Thank you, Riverside, for sort of sponsoring us a little bit and letting us play around with the software. And we're going to let you know how it goes.
Not our first sponsor, but as close as we can get to it. We appreciate it, Mr. Riversides.
Do you ever feel like ebbs and flows where like you kind of are like blah photography? Like, where you have peaks where you're so excited to go out and you had a great day, and then other times where you don't feel like shooting, or you actually are out there and you're like, what am I doing out here? Have you ever had that?
I have gone out, and then once I'm out wondering why. But I think we are at different levels, right? You're on, this is your bread and butter. This is your 9 to 5. This is your life. For me, it's a part-time, right? It's a portion of my life, and it's an escape sometimes from who I am normally. So we look at it from two different points of view altogether.
Yeah, I think in the summer context, I have no work whatsoever. I take the whole summer off. So I'm talking going out and shooting, like waking up in the morning and going out shooting. Sometimes I go out before the sunrise and like it's a little blah, and I feel uninspired, and I think that happens to a lot of us. Mm-hmm. You have to keep going out there, but there are times when you feel uninspired and you come back and you look at your photographs and maybe you don't have not even one super winner kind of thing,
I understand exactly what you're saying. Sometimes you go out there and once you're there, right, the night before you're packing your gear, you're charging your batteries, you're kind of excited.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that shot tomorrow. And then you get there and you don't even want to take the lens cap off. You don't.
Yeah, I know.
You don't. You just want to. But to me, again, I look at life a little differently with my little problems in life. So to me, just being out and getting any photographs, whether I actually then, like I know if I didn't have a good shoot day for myself, if I don't even bother looking at the pictures when I get home.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Like there's
I
days
sulk
that
over I
no.
sulk over all of them.
No. There's days right off the bat that whatever you got, nothing inspired you, and then maybe 2-3 weeks later, I'll look at the photos, and then maybe like, oh, that's a nice shot, or I could crop and twist it into a nice shot. But if I go out and I know I had a bad day or I didn't feel the vibe that day, I don't tend to look at the photos at all the
All right,
same day.
so let's sort of brainstorm then. Let's kind of make it an activity now. Let's pretend that our listeners go out and we go out, and you kind of are, because the biggest thing is you and I have New York at our fingertips, and New York is like, you know what I'm saying, is you could just work one corner and get a lot of great images, but some people only have their little town. Definitely don't go out in the middle of the day.
Oh, yeah,
like
no.
go out when the light is good, because you could have like a classic, let's say it's just rural America. If you have like you find a classic car, well, that could inspire you. If the sun is hitting it, at sunrise, you can get such beautiful pictures of like pieces of the car. And that I think that will fire you up if you just work one scene, but the lighting is good. I think people might be uninspired if they're like, it's flat lighting and cloudy, maybe like in England. And you know what I'm saying?
I mean, unless that's what you want. You want something drastic and where you could black and white it and make it harsh. I mean, but yeah.
True.
I mean,
that's another. Actually, you came up with something perfect there. You could switch your JPEG mode to black and white.
One of our fellow followers, he just picked up the monochrome Leica, the Q2 or something like that.
That's one way to get inspired.
I mean, obviously, the like in your hand alone, you're like, I'm ready. Good night, everybody. No, but so just that's the whole thing. Like it's now the only choice he has to shoot when he has that camera is black and white.
Wow.
So maybe taking a note from the world of Omar, make your own noir when you go out and say, I'm going to only shoot black and white today. And then, you know what? Because think about this. If you do live in a world that isn't rustling and bustling, black and white is going to give you a different perspective on everything.
Absolutely.
Black and white flowers, black and white fields.
I know.
It's
when
beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, and when you put your work together from different days, it all gels together. You actually start picking out like a little portfolio of black and white. I wish I was more black and white dominant, because every time I shoot it and edit in black and white, I love it so much. But damn, the colors in these cameras sometimes are just so good,
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm lucky that I love black and white when I'm not doing work for other people.
I thought you were going to say I'm lucky I have a Sony.
I have a Sony. I don't have to worry about that. That's not nice. You're disrespectful.
Oh, that's great.
First you leave
black and
Sony.
white.
Now you leave the Yankees. You're just deserting me, man. I don't know. How those Mets doing though? Those Mets suck.
Oh,
man.
We're so bad now. But
Oh,
I've been
it's
watching
we?
the Yankees
It's we?
too. Yeah, it's we. I got to stick with them because I changed teams. Same with Nikon. But now I have Nikon and Sony. The Sony hasn't been touched. But let's not get into cameras. Let's get back to inspiration. Here's another thing you could do. Well, this could be good advice or bad advice. I think that people get caught up with like buying a new lens or buying something new that's going to inspire you. And it does for a little while, but it just ends up being kind of something that might collect dust if you don't need it. So that's one thing. But what I was going to say is if you went out with an older DSLR or an older camera, I'm finding that inspires me a lot more than shooting with the like the newer cameras and the ones with the crazy fast autofocus. Like
so I'm going to take it back a step.
Well, let me finish, because I was going to say like the Nikon D700, I was so inspired to shoot that beast that I had so much fun shooting it. It's just so big. My God.
Oh, my. But let me take it back a step, because unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, a lot of people aren't like us. Well, like you. Right now, I only have one camera, like probably the rest of our listeners. So shooting with an older camera may not be an option. But what you can do is buy an older style lens.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So if you're rocking, the 24 to 70 G Master, or the Nikon 24 70 to 200 zero triple stabilized, go buy a nifty 28 or a nifty 50, a 35. Grab something that's old.
Manual focus. Yeah.
Manual focus. Yeah, I mean, try something completely different. Manual focus, just old in general, because people need to understand that lenses give a flavor to each shot. You can sometimes look at a camera, look at a photo that's not been edited, and know it came from this type of lens, this era of lens, this lens in particular, because a lot of lenses have a footprint. It's hard to explain it, but when I shot with the baddest 25 millimeter f2, I always knew when that lens came up on my feed, because that was just that look, that feel. And I think that's the way to get inspired too. If you just maybe go to an antique store, pick up a $30 lens, a $50 lens,
and adapt it.
Adapters are cheap, especially if you go with the manual style ones. They're very cheap, and they do the job. They allow you to put that lens on your camera.
You know what lens people mention a lot to me is the Helios. Have you ever heard of these guys?
The Helios. What is that? Like a dessert company?
What the Helios are they talking about?
Hey, give me a sandwich.
It's like the Helios 44, like a 44 millimeter. It's like a Russian lens, I think, but it has like kind of a filmic quality, and people adapt them to their Fuji films. And people always ask me, hey, why don't you do a video on adapting vintage lenses to your Fuji film?
Because you don't do that.
Yeah, I kind of like just shooting the
what's out there? What's
no,
standard?
I was going to say the standard lens that come with it. Mm-hmm. And I have two maybe manual focus lenses that I like playing around with. But
I mean, we could recommend that channel that does it all the time. I like him, Andrew and Danae.
Yeah, he's done adapting lenses.
He loves that. Yeah. He tells you whether that adapter's any good, and he puts on different lenses, and he's one of those guys that isn't afraid to go out into the rural world and take some drastic, high contrast middle of the day photos sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's another idea is maybe your inspiration doesn't come from shooting. Maybe it's like you go out in the middle of the day, but then your inspiration comes from going back and editing your photos, whether it be make them all black and white or add a film curve, something you've never done before. And that might branch you out to, be inspired by what you're creating.
One more thing is change perspective. If you're a wide shooter, shoot close. If you're a close shooter, shoot wide. Do something different.
Yeah.
Do something that isn't whatever you want to do first. Tell yourself do the opposite.
Yeah. I got another one for you, because this happened to me in Puerto Rico. Is I was just shooting anything, and then slowly shooting became. I had a theme for everything that I was shooting. Is in Puerto Rico, you know how beautiful Puerto Rico can be. Mm-hmm. There's beautiful beaches. It's just like paradise. It's like a Caribbean. However, the reality of Puerto Rico is if you go into a lot of the pueblos and towns, there are houses that are abandoned. There's evidence of like Hurricane Maria destruction. And so something else that could inspire you in your town is to maybe pinpoint one theme or one thing that you want to capture over and over and keep it in the back of your head. Like it could be let's just say store owners or stores that have been in your town forever. It could be shooting at an old folks home. It could be abandoned cars where you live. And for me, in Puerto Rico, I started shooting houses that had graffiti and were abandoned. And had plant growth that was overgrown.
Where the habitat has started to reclaim it.
Like I Am Legend. Remember the movie I Am Legend with
Never watched it. But here's what I would think. So I would go and look at storefronts, the storefronts in my town. Like they're trying to make them all the same now, but they're not all there yet. So you have to look at the guys that are fighting the change. I would focus on that if I would just.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, we wanted to do that. We just never got around to it. We wanted to do old Hoboken,
right?
Just to photograph the things that are still there from the late 1800s, 1900s, and sort of like piece them together.
So then, while you were in Puerto Rico, did you think? And this is just because some places are opening up drastically for traveling, so people might be thinking about traveling. What did you feel you brought the right equipment? Did you ever feel like, damn, I should have brought this, I should have left that? What did you gravitate to in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so for Puerto Rico, my plan was if I'm walking around neighborhoods and things, I didn't want to seem like I was a photographer. I wanted to seem like I was just going out for a walk. Mm-hmm. So I put on my chancletas and my little straw hat. No. I walked
Instant
around.
Camouflage.
Yeah. I walked around with this little guy. I used the, let's see if it focuses here. Yeah, there it is. So this is the Fujifilm X70, which is kind of like a baby X100, except it's an 18 millimeter lens. And that's what I used to sort of capture all the graffiti and all that cool stuff. And that was fun because I just put it in my pocket and then would take it out when I wanted to shoot a picture.
That's cool.
The only problem in Puerto Rico is there's no viewfinder on this guy. Mm-hmm. So the screen, it's sometimes hard to see the screen. So the first time you see your picture is when it comes back on the iPad.
So is that something that you could fix by putting one of those smoked LCD covers?
No, the way to, quote, fix it on this, they actually sell a little guy you can put on top, An
eye hood thing?
And then turn off the screen in the back. But I did bring the Nikon Z6 II, and that was more appropriate when we were in Old San Juan, when I was walking around with the family. Very touristy there, so I didn't stick out like a sore thumb. And I photographed, my goal was to photograph my kids with the 51.8, so portraits of them in the streets. And so, the Nikon was great for that because it's just like straight out of camera. The pictures are so gorgeous.
So that was a form of like portrait street photography, right?
Yeah, that was totally planned. We dressed the kids up nice and walked around and photographed them. And boy, Old San Juan is sort of falling apart too. It's so sad. I don't know when was the last time you were there?
Last time I was there was in January, but obviously touring wasn't part of the
you didn't
plan.
go to Old San Juan, right?
I didn't do anything. I stayed at my mom's house.
Yeah.
But so is it falling apart, you think, because people don't realize how bad Maria impacted that whole Caribbean area, not just Puerto Rico. And the fact that there was very little funding going out that way, is it because it hasn't rebuilt yet? Or because people are kind of like moving away from it and finding other places?
We would need a whole 4 hours to discuss what's going on in Puerto Rico, but a lot of it has to do with government corruption / they give big corporations and people huge tax breaks to come to the island. They don't have to pay as much tax, if at all, if they come to Puerto Rico. So it's the same story everywhere, in every country and every place in the world. The rich get richer, and the poor get poorer.
Right.
And it's harder to jump into that middle class and be comfortable. So in Puerto Rico, combination of the storm plus the most horrendous infrastructure. The roads have potholes. The bridges are falling apart. It's just so much of it is so beyond repair that they filed for bankruptcy, you know what I'm saying, because of the corrupt government.
Right, so the money's not going to where it needs to go, so things aren't being fixed.
It's a whole vicious cycle. And then there's groups that want to bring agriculture back to the country because the United States basically subsidized Puerto Rico to stop planting food and being a perfect place for the pharmaceutical companies.
All right.
And now there's groups these grassroots groups. They're trying to actually make more food in Puerto Rico and become sustainable like they used to be before we butted in.
Right. And
they could sustain food for the whole country, Right.
And there's still enough land that's unoccupied that they can do that.
Absolutely.
But how did
my
this
grandfather
become our
worked? My grandfather in Puerto Rico, he worked on the sugarcane factory.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's how he made his living, and how he had a pension was he worked the fields of the sugarcane. Now Bacardi rum factories there. They don't even get their sugarcane from PR.
Yeah. But anyway, listen. Let me ask you another question. Let's bring it back to photography or non-sad stories.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to go sad there, but
No, but this
let
is what we talk about.
Can I
Everything.
wrap up the whole like theme thing with being motivated? So I could see that branching out where you have a theme you're motivated about, and it could do some good. Like if you start showing these photographs of these houses out in social media, like you never know who's watching. Like if you have a theme that's important to you or a cause, then that could be what motivates you. Try to do good instead of maybe thinking about what it's all about you all the time.
Stop worrying about the likes and start doing something that people will like.
I think I want to do more of that, like things that make you feel good because you're trying to do better in the world. I think that happens when you get older. Loki, thoughts?
My thoughts or your thoughts?
Oh, first let's introduce it. For those of you that don't know, on Disney Plus, there's a show with the character Loki, which is the villain in the Thor mythology, played by
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston, who dated Taylor Swift, man. Taylor Swift.
I would never have guessed that. I am so not TMZ.
Anyway, overall review, A through D.
I'm gonna go into the low A grouping.
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed it. I really thought. Here's the thing: too many people put expectations on something they have no idea what's gonna happen.
I had no expectations,
and I really enjoyed it. Now, am I gonna say that there wasn't parts that I questioned?
Really?
Yeah, honestly, an A, because I couldn't wait for the next episode every single week.
Oh,
and when it ended, I was left with that cliffhanger feeling, and that to me,
because they didn't close it out. That's why
it's not a one-time series. They shouldn't be closed out. They should be cliffhangers.
Should have killed it.
Oh, you're so sad.
I give it a D. Wow. Here's my perspective.
Wow.
First
all the way
of all,
the opposite side.
Marvel is ruining one of the best characters they created in the cinematic universe. He wears a tie and slacks for the entire thing. He never becomes Loki. And I think that's what's great about that character is how confident he is, how witty he is. And in this, he was like...
I think that's what I liked about it.
Really?
I think that the fact that the entire time he was trying to puff his chest up, and then he just kept falling apart. And without spoiling too much, it's the rebuilding of who he was.
Well, I agree with that. I agree that he got to see himself, or sort of like look within. I get that. I got that they were trying to do that, but
like he was doing super bravado stuff all the time. He's trying to make himself be the ultimate Loki, as always. But as he's always been destined to.
Okay, so we totally disagree on this. I give it a D. I hated it. I was moaning. My daughter, I just kept moaning like during the bad long. Some of these shows are so drawn out. Some of these scenes, they say that it's a lazy way to storytell when you just talk everything out. And I felt there were so many scenes that they explain everything by talking for 15 minutes, like across the table.
They're on Disney. It's not meant always for adults. They're on there for a reason.
I don't know. My daughter kept elbowing me because I'm just like, oh, dear Lord.
I bet you she enjoyed it, right?
No, she hated it too.
Because you made her hate it. You brainwashed her.
How about What If? Did you get to see What If?
I saw the first What If. Captain Carter.
Yeah. What did you grade that?
I will put that in a B+. I enjoyed it.
You're the worst.
I enjoyed it.
A plus, baby.
Oh, what? D+?
A plus.
Oh,
I loved it.
Oh, see, so no, B+ is a strong B+ because I think I grade it because it was too short, and it's not its fault.
Okay, but look at the production that goes into that animation.
I love that cell shading comic style.
How do they do that? It's computer animated, sort of drawn, kind of, right?
Yeah, it's a weird cell shading that was used for video games a while ago and for old cartoons.
Well, isn't it the same technology as that they kind of used in Spider-Verse, right?
It's in the realm. It's in the
realm. It's in the realm. But beautiful.
I think if you don't have Disney Plus, YouTube, just Google, just go on YouTube and
Look up What If. Yeah,
What
you'll
If
see.
Captain Carter, and just see the animation style, just to understand what we're talking about. It's beautiful.
You
And
know, I
think,
bet.
was
Go
there a
ahead, I'm
second
sorry.
one yet?
Yeah, there's a second one. You should see that.
I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it.
We saw that. We saw that yesterday. But I was gonna say, some of my only issue is that some of the characters look spot on, like Steve Rogers, and then some kind of like, Barnes and Bucky Barnes doesn't look like the actor. So it seems like they use the face sort of the actor and sort of animate on some of them, like Peggy Carter kind of looks like Peggy Carter, and the scientist.
I saw a young Bucky Barnes. I saw it. I didn't. I don't. I know what you're saying. It wasn't as dead on as Steve Rogers was.
Dead on, no, but everyone else was. I couldn't understand why Winter
Do you
Soldier.
think there's some kind of like royalty thing with Sebastian?
Maybe.
What's his face?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe something, because look at the Howard Stark character. Did you see him? Dead on, man.
Like is he actually like doing like what is it? What capture? Live
Yeah,
capture?
motion capture.
That's what it is, motion capture. Yeah.
All right, let's end on this. Have you seen Hamilton on Disney Plus?
No.
You're not
You've told me to
into it.
watch it 1,000 times. I started watching the first 2 minutes and I got distracted with some kind of like dog emergency, and I never went back into it.
Oh, you got to get into it, man. It's a Puerto Rican pride thing. Lin-Manuel, a Puerto Rican, wrote all these great lyrics and stuff. It's a cool history lesson.
No, listen, I love the Hamilton story because I had to do a book report on it, and it's a very interesting story. The ending sucks, though, right? I don't want to spoil it.
Let's just say things go down in New Jersey. Anyway, speaking of the end.
All right, good talk.
Yeah, thank you, Riverside, for allowing us to hook up here without Skype or OBS or Zoom, which is such a pain. So hopefully this works for us, and we'll report back on our findings with Riverside. Check out riverside.fm, not .com. Riverside.fm.
Like the radio sounding so good.
Oh, yes. All right.
Thank you for letting us be boys being boys.
Okay. Do I have outro music here? Nope, but I'll end with some laughing. All right. We'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye.